Hello traders and welcome to our market roundup video, and this is still Napan here, founder of Master Markets, A-Trades Conference and the Traders Open Day. So here we are in the month of August. We do take some time off. We do not trade the markets in the month of August. So we'll not be updating any trading performance as such then because of that. However, we'll cover one small topic and we will then look at the various other markets to see how they are doing. Now, as the topic for today, I will be looking at insider bars, is what we'll be looking at, and how we can trade them. Okay. Right. Now, the first point, insider bars, for those of you who do not understand what insider bars are. Now, first of all, very simply, an insider bar, as its name suggests, is a bar that is inside the previous bar. Now, let me just show you an example. For example, if you have a bar like that, let me see if I can find for you a very clear insider bar example. There we go, something like this over here, right? So let me just get rid of the open and closes, much more easy to see after that. So we got one bar like this, and then we got an insider bar inside that, right? Now, let me just do the labeling correctly. So this is what we call the insider bar, because you can see that that high is within this bar's high, and the insider bar's low is within this engulfing bar's low as well. So the insider bar high and low must be within the bar before it. Now, for reference purposes, to make it much more clearer, what I'm going to do is this right now. So you see, so this one here is what we call the IB, and the bar before it, simply we call it the IB minus 1, okay? IB minus 1. Now, as you can see then, the insider bar's low has got to be higher, and the insider bar's high got to be lower than the IB minus 1. That would define this as an insider bar. It doesn't even matter if it's 1 micropip, 1 pip, then it follows the definition, does it not? So it's quantitative and not subjective. So that's the first point. So the definition of insider bar, so that is quite clear in all of us. Now the second thing is then, what do we need to think about in terms of trading insider bars, okay, with an edge? The second thing you got to think about is what I covered in the earlier video, actually last week, is to think about two factors. One is the distance that the insider bar has covered. Before I go on to the distance, let me direct your mind and make it more focused in terms of the question that you should be asking when you look at an insider bar. At any point an insider bar happens, all we have to ask ourselves is which direction is it going to take? That looks like an obvious question, but I'm going to be a bit more specific right now. And in terms of direction, you got to ask yourself, is it going to be in line with trend? Is it going to be in line with the trend? Or is it going to form a new phase of the trend, or is it going to go against the trend? Is it going to be counter trend? Okay, that's all. There's two things you got to ask yourself all the time. Is the trend going to persist, or is it going to form a counter trend phase? Now, let me explain, okay, before we go on to the charts. For example, if you have something like this, okay, let me just draw something that's going up at the moment. Okay, so if you got something like this, right? Let's say now swing low has been confirmed, and according to our MTM swing low confirmation and high confirmations, we get a dot appearing which confirms the high and which confirms the low. Now once you have that, traders, then imagine now the swing low is not confirmed. This is going up, right? So I would say in this very simple relative example, trend is going up. Okay, trend is going up at the moment. And if we get an insider bar at the moment, yeah, insider bar, all you got to ask yourself is Is it going to go in line with the phase? If I want to be a bit more exact, is it going to go further in line with the phase? That means to say, the next bar, is it going to take out this bar's high and carry on further up? Okay, is it going to do that, or is it going to go from that point onwards? Is it going to go further down and confirm that swing high and create a counter trend phase towards the downside? So then you see then that swing high be confirmed, and then there will be a downward move after that. The market can only move in two phases, right? It's either up or it's either down. Okay, so you can see that this is bottom to top, top to bottom. Yeah, so this is what you got to continuously ask yourself at that point when the insider bar comes in. Which direction? Now then the final part, then you got to ask yourself, but how do you then answer this part of which direction? You got to look at price and time. Okay, now let me put all this in perspective. You can see that over here it's traveled a little bit of distance, has it not, when this insider bar formed? Let me just erase this out. So we got a point over here. When the insider bar comes, is it going to go further up or is it going to come further down and confirm its high? So the direction we are looking at now, to come to decipherance of which direction in terms of probability wise, that's all you can do, right, all the time, is you have to now think about in terms of price and time. How far has the swing low traveled? Let's say, for example, it's only traveled let's say, from the bottom to the top. So far, it's only traveled, let's say, 75 pips. Okay, in terms of currencies, we use pips. Indices, we use points. Whatever it is, the concept stands. This distance, what we're covering. And once you have that, traders, then you got to ask yourself the time it took to get there as well. So how many? If this is a daily time frame, it's going to be 3 bars, right? So 3 days it took to get to 75 pips. That's the price distance. Now, if you find out the average distance any phase does is 200 pips, okay? And it does that within 7 days. Then you can see from here that there is still some room for this to carry on to the upside. Okay, so this scenario, there's a lower probability of happening if you find this is the average. 200 pips over 7 days. Now that's the research that you need to do. You need to do that research for each of the instruments that you want to trade, the price and time and of each of those phases, and the average. Get the average. And once you have done that and you've tabulated it in a table, which we do over here with our research team as well and with our programmers, once you got that, then you can then trade the market with confidence. Whenever insider bar happens, you can ask yourselves, okay, where's the probability now? How much price and time has it traveled? It's only traveled 75 pips in 3 days. Average, they all do 200 pips over 7 days anyway. So I'm going to take this long, and then you then decide your entry point and where your stop loss, target, and all that is going to be. Okay, right, so take some time out, reflect on all of this. I'm just going to pinpoint to you some insider bars in over here that will relate with whatever that I just spoke about. You see, for example, this one here, right? That's an insider bar. When that insider bar happened, there's 2 green bars. It's an insider bar, right? But you see, when that happened, you got to ask yourself, you see, if I were to cover all of that, you got to ask yourself, in that particular insider bar that happened, right? How much price and time has already moved? Look at this, right? It's already done 267 pips. Is that already more than the average? If the average was 200 pips, then if it's 267 is what I'm saying, is more than the average, I would say probably it will form a new phase. Okay, then you can take it to the opposite side rather than you thinking that the trend will persist. Okay, so these are the things you got to ask yourself. So over here, look, there's another insider bar here that we have. You see another insider bar here as well. This one is much more typical, as you can see. This one has only traveled only 157 pips. If it's below the average, then you know what is going to happen. It's going to go in line with its trend, with its phase direction. Okay, so that's what we can do. Let me just take a look at other markets. Dollar yen. Do we have insider bar today? Nope, it's not. Cable. So there you go. If that maintains today, you know that that is an insider bar, right? That is an insider bar. And you can see that if it has already in this direction of downwards, a swing high, this is why it's so important to quantify the swing highs and swing lows. We've mentioned this many times. So you can see that over here it's done 554 pips already. So that's probably more than its average. If you have calculated the average as well, then you can then look to see in terms of this example where if 200 pips is the average or 300 pips is the average, then of course then the probability we're looking for is to the upside. It's more to the upside. Okay. See, for example, here this is more obvious, right? It's more probability to the downside. Okay, good. So that's to do that one. Now let's move on. Euro dollar, there's no insider bar there. Bitcoin, is there insider bar? There you go, right? So you had an insider bar yesterday, you see? You had an insider bar yesterday. There you go, and you can see that towards the down move, a large price move, right? Maybe probably above its average. Done it over time as well. And then if you know that, then you know which direction to take, which should be towards the upside for this one. If on based on average purposes, there you go. You got another insider bar here as well. Is this above the average and above the time? Is what you got to ask yourself. Oil, no insider bar. Gold, yes, there's an insider bar as well. Ask yourself again. You see there was an insider bar here. Look, yeah. And then you got to ask yourself at that point, was that insider bar above its average distance that it does over time or not? Is this insider bar above its average over time? Then you can then decipher from that point onwards. Okay, I guess you're all getting the idea. It can be cross-applied to any market. Okay, Dow Jones, as you can see as well, no insider bar. Euro yen, Euro yen has an insider bar as well. But I guess you're getting the hang of it right now. This is definitely above its average. It looks like that. But you go do your research over time as well. So if that is, then you will start a new phase, and it will carry on further and further until it confirms the swing low. At that point, you know that it's turned. Then you decide whether you want to keep the trade or you want to bank in your profit. Aussie dollar, no insider bar. Okay, so that's good. So I've given you an idea on how you can use insider bars to trade with an edge. If there are any other questions that you have based on this at all, please do feel free to contact us. We'll be more than happy to help you. I guess that's all I have for this market roundup video, and as we always say, till the next time, stay disciplined, follow your trading plan, and keep trading like a master.